It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory.
Shea Stadium in New York. Unfortunately for the Jets, their opponents have found a trip to the Big Apple quite accommodating in 1980. Houston Oilers coach Bum Phillips hopes that his short stroll through Big Shea will be as leisurely and as rewarding as a walk in the Texas moonlight. The Oilers lead the AFC Central, football's toughest division. Phillips assembled a defense that has become one of the league's best, made up of misfits, journeymen, and free agents like Andy Doris, number 69. Houston's defense resembles a traveling circus, a freewheeling group of guys that get the job done. But Oiler fortunes hinge on this imposing set of tree trunks, the legs of Earl Campbell. The Tyler Rose has averaged 179 yards in his last 6 games, a stretch in which Houston has won 5. The Oilers' overall balance presents a problem for Jets coach Walt Michaels. New York has surprised with their poor showing in 1980, much of the blame being directed toward Richard Todd. Todd's inconsistency has hindered an offense that was expected to strike swiftly and often. It's the struggling New York Jets meeting the surging Houston Oilers in the NFL Game of the Week. A year ago, New York's offensive line was among the league's best. This season, it has been decimated by injuries, all but shutting down what had been the NFL's best running attack in 1979. With a weak ground game, Todd has thrown more. He came out gunning against the Oilers. A sack by number 75, Jesse Baker, ended the Jets' initial drive. New York's defense would get its first shot at Earl Campbell. The Jets' inexperienced front 7 handled Campbell and running mate Tim Wilson, number 45, in the early going, forcing Ken Stabler to employ the short ball control passing game that has become the Snake's trademark in Houston. Stabler has completed a league-leading 65% of his passes, but has been prone to the interception. Against the Jets, the pattern continued with painful results. Ken Schroy raised 82 yards with the interception, and New York led 7-0. The Jets' defense had done something it does not do very often: come up with a turnover and the big play. For Ken Stabler, the interceptions continued to mount, but the Snake has been behind before. It was too early to count the Oilers out. The man with the cowboy hat did not like what he saw. His defense was on the field far too long for a team that prided itself on ball control and running efficiency. In the first quarter, it was New York that turned the tables on Bum. The Jets ground out the tough yardage. The Oiler defense stiffened, again halting a New York drive. The Jets were forced to punt, but disasters struck Houston as they were victimized by another turnover. Jets recovered Carl Roach's fumble, and New York had an unexpected opportunity to extend their 7-0 lead. Todd looked for the quick kill. Avoiding the outside blitz of number 50, Darrell Hunt, Todd found Jerome Barkham in single coverage over the middle. The Jets quarterback finished the short drive with a quick burst. New York had made the most of 2 Oiler turnovers, a problem that had plagued Houston all season. Late in the first quarter, the Jets were in command, a situation that New York had not enjoyed very often in 1980. The Oilers' powerful defense would have to respond. They met the challenge head-on. Oiler turnovers and Jet opportunism put Houston's back to the wall. The defense had to change the flow of the game before it got out of hand. Bum's bunch did just that. Although Todd's romp around Shea Stadium and ensuing fumble were negated by an Oiler penalty, Houston's defense had asserted itself. 2 plays later, Jack Tatum finished the job with an interception, setting the stage for the Jets' weekly downfall. The Oilers' offense would have to take the cue from the defense. It was time for Stabler to bring his old Oakland buddy, Dave Casper, number 87, into the scheme of things. Unfortunately for the Snake, the Jets were well aware of his intentions. Ron Crosby, number 55, picked off Stabler's pass for the Jets' second interception and brought the ball to the Houston 1-yard line. It was the 4th Oiler turnover of the half, and it put the Jets in position to add to their 2-touchdown lead. Kevin Long dove over for the touchdown. The Jets had again taken advantage of Oiler mistakes. New York fans were witnessing a rarity. The Jets were soundly beating one of the best teams in the NFL. How long could it continue? Trailing 21-0, a tired Houston defense would have to try once more to bail out a struggling and ineffective offense. Once more, Houston's second-ranked defense stopped the Jets cold. Controlling New York's running game and sacking Todd for the second time, the Oilers shut down the Jets. Houston's defense had played well in the first half. Offensive mistakes were responsible for the 21-0 deficit. The offense would have one last chance to atone for past sins. The messenger of goodness was who else but number 34, Earl Campbell. Campbell ran for a quiet 57 yards in the first half, but his bruising style awakened a lethargic Oiler attack until Stabler decided it was time to go to the air. A poorly thrown ball resulted in Stabler's third interception, this one by number 28, Darrell Ray. But Ray felt that it was better to give than to receive, so he politely returned the ball to the Oilers. The Snake had another opportunity. The first half had not been one of his better performances, but with less than a minute to go, he could still salvage a score. This beautifully set up screen to Rob Carpenter brought Houston to the Jets' 11-yard line. From there, it would be up to Tony Frisch. Frisch missed from 29 yards out, and the goose egg remained next to the Oilers on the scoreboard. Houston was simply a victim of its own mistakes. Any chance for an Oiler comeback would rest with the offense, for it is real tough to win when you don't put any points on the board. Coach Walt Michaels might well be saying to Richard Todd, Thanksgiving comes early in New York. In the first half, the Jets converted no third downs and gained 50 yards less than the Oilers, yet commanded a 21-point lead. Neither team would expand their point total in the third period, when New York ran just 6 plays from scrimmage. The Jet defense was equally aggressive, treating the Tyler Rose like ragweed, limiting Earl Campbell to just 3 second-half yards. Houston wound up holding the ball for 12 minutes in the period. Still, they remained scoreless. Despite their 3-touchdown deficit, the Oiler offense remained conservative with short pass plays, resulting in short gains. Houston clearly lacked the big play passing game they desperately needed to get back in the game. Plus, they lacked Earl Campbell, forced to leave with an aggravated leg injury. The last play of the third quarter hinted at signs of an Oiler turnaround. With 4th and 2 at the Jet 38, Houston had no choice but to go for the first down. Tim Wilson earned the first down and more and countered Earl Campbell's absence with 49 yards on 7 carries. It was now the time to play serious catch-up, but the Jet pass rush continually forced Stabler out of the pocket, where he hurried his passes into the hands of receivers like Rich Castor, number 88. With both tight ends running pass patterns, Stabler was left with a 5-man line that seemed overworked, barely allowing him time to locate one tight end, Mike Barber, number 86. After 41 minutes and 16 seconds of play, Houston found its way into the New York end zone. The 5-yard score from Stabler to Barber marked the first step in a fourth-quarter Stabler surge. But the snake was not quite in the groove as the New York rush forced Stabler into his 4th interception of the day, the second one for free safety Darrell Ray. With a prime opportunity to extend a 14-point lead, Richard Todd swiftly marched 35 yards, only to find resistance at the 1-yard line. Linebacker Robert Brazil's interception and 33-yard return inspired Houston to forge one of the most extraordinary comebacks of the 1980 season. The Oiler offense shifted gears and went for the big gainers over the middle, this one to wide receiver Mike Renfro, number 82. The Jets' Stan Blinka, number 54, added 15 yards to the play when he brought Renfro down by way of the face mask. Stabler then focused his attention to another wide receiver over the middle, the diminutive Billy Johnson, number 84. On the following play, Johnson again proved that his size is no drawback. One does not need a large body to step into the end zone. Johnson's touchdown narrowed the New York lead to 7 and caused at least one Houston fan in Shea Stadium to anticipate a patented Ken Stabler comeback. The Oakland Raiders traded the Snake to Houston because they felt he no longer had the capacity to throw the bomb. The skeptics in Oakland were proved wrong on this 68-yard score to Rich Castor, the third Houston touchdown in 7 minutes. The suddenly deadlocked football game appeared to wear the Jets down. Instead, it shocked them into their first efficient drive of the second half. Richard Todd spread out the Oilers' secondary with long tosses to Lamb Jones, number 80, and with shorter ones to his running backs. With Houston's linebackers dropping to protect the middle, Todd responded with a screen to Bruce Harper, number 42. Harper's 45-yard touchdown further dimmed Houston's hopes of retaining sole possession of first place in the AFC Central. After all, New York was hardly the place to be knocked from atop football's toughest division. But for the Oilers, situations like these are when a snake is most likely to strike. After mixing passes to the outside to Mike Renfro and over the middle to Tim Wilson, Stabler kept Jet linebackers honest with an occasional draw play. This one to Wilson, one of just 4 Houston running plays in the fourth period. With the 2-minute warning come and gone, Walt Michaels was well aware that it was showtime for Stabler. Like a finely tuned automobile, Houston drove through New York with Stabler in the driver's seat on a course he had driven many times before. But there had been one perpetual roadblock in Stabler's path throughout the day. Defensive end Mark Gastineau, number 99. With obstacle number 99 out of the way, the Oilers regained their composure and continued on course. Mike Barber's 21-yard reception put Houston in the driveway. It was time to sneak into the garage. Rich Castor, number 88, caught Stabler's 4th touchdown pass of the 4th quarter, and the tying score was a result of extreme patience by Stabler, who simply waited and waited for Castor to clear. After the smoke had cleared, Stabler had thrown for 388 yards, his best day ever. And Houston had put 28 points on the board in 13 minutes. The Jets had blown a 21-point lead and had but 1 minute 25 seconds to get into scoring position. This they did with several pressure receptions by Wesley Walker, number 85. With 6 seconds left in regulation time, from 36 yards out, Pat Leahy's foot could have made the difference. The miss meant a new life for Houston and faint hope of a second chance for redemption for Pat Leahy. For the Oilers, extensive strategy sessions could not prevent the coin flip that landed in the Jets' favor. Houston never got their hands on the ball in the overtime period, as Richard Todd and Bruce Harper continued to exploit the left side of Houston's defense, where Harper had scored earlier from 45 yards. The 9-yard gain added some measure of hope for Pat Leahy, and it was Harper again who earned Leahy that second chance. Harper's 19 yards returned the Jets to field goal range, this time from 38 yards. Leahy's kick meant a 3-point win, by far the Jets' biggest in an otherwise disappointing season. And it was the Jets, not the Stabler-led Oilers, who provided the final comeback magic. For the man in the 10-gallon hat, his team came up a quart low and dropped into a tie for first place with Cleveland in the AFC Central. With eyes on Cleveland and Pittsburgh, perhaps Houston had looked past the New York Jets. Remember